On this episode of Don't Do What Nick Does, don't cable tie your safety shroud in place. Just don't do it. Alright, so we're on the action camera today because my phone's flat. Now I've taken the chains off. I've taken the chains off both sides of the 4-stroke because I wanted to run it just to confirm that it wasn't actually the transmission that was seizing. That's still working fine, and I'll be able to show you this in. I couldn't have planned that. Couldn't have planned that if I tried. Well, that's a byproduct of me damaging it in the first place. So, what I was hoping to prove was not that the belt was about to fly off, but that it's in fact the wheel that is seizing. So what I plan to do today is we're going to pop this wheel off, and I've got the grinder out up on the step, and I plan to grind this all smooth, because if you've been following the 4-stroke videos you'll see how munted it is inside there. So I've got to do that first. I'll fix up this as well. This is kind of why I wanted to put this engine on the scrap heap, or this frame at least, because it's a nightmare. Alright, so this isn't the best camera for close-up stuff, but I'll do my best. Now, that does just sort of sit in a tiny groove around there. Ideally, that's not what is going to pop off, but the reason that's so loose is because of, you can see fairly well there how close that still is, even after last time I got the grinder out. There you go. What was happening was this pedal was hitting exactly this plate. And that's what was pushing it all forwards, and as a result, that's pretty weak now. All of the problems with this transmission have been from the way that I set up the bike in the first place, not the reliability of the transmission itself. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll set the camera back up, and we'll try and get we're just going to rev it up and make sure it just doesn't pop off again. Alright. It's just yet another one of the things you've got to keep an eye on. I don't know whether or not you'd be able to add some tack weld or solder onto there, but that's not in my wheelhouse. It's not meant to come off, put it that way. But I'm sure there'd be a way. I've got some JB weld somewhere, maybe I'll clean that up and stick a bit of JB weld around there to hold that on. So, the wheel. So you can see there just how chewed out that is. So that's what we're going to be grinding back today. But because that wheel's been so problematic, that's the original wheel from the Mark II bike. Incidentally, that's got the original Mark IV wheel on it, but this sprocket doesn't work. But for the purposes of getting the 4-stroke going long enough to do a top speed test, I think the easiest thing to do would be to just change the tube in the tyre and throw this wheel on instead. The downside is that there is no pedaling because that sprocket is toast. Alright, so what we've got here is the original Mark II. No, this was the original Mark I wheel with a broken sprocket. So we're going no bicycle chain and motor chain only. I've left the old original Mark IV tyre on there just because this is only supposed to be like a short-term solution. So what I didn't show you was that I had ground all this down. I think what was happening was it was continuing to slip into the ruts. The hub on that wheel has completely seized, so that's pretty much trash for now. It was a cheap wheel and it mightn't have been so bad, except I think I actually damaged the bearings. I was trying to put more grease in. I don't know what I did, I broke it. So we're going to go ahead and fit the chain, and yeah, we'll see if we can't get it spinning again. Alrighty, so this is a rag joint that hasn't been used, hasn't been on a bike or ridden more than a couple of kilometers. The Mark I bike, it only ran for a day. I think it was within the third day I'd already bought the second frame. So I can't remember what the story is, but it might be a bit out of whack. I've manually turned the wheel a few times to sort of see how we go, but I think we can start up the engine and have a looky. Alrighty, so far so good. The wheel doesn't seem unstable. I was worried that's just an old tube, but it seems to be holding its pressure okay. This plate seems to be staying on. So, somewhere in here is the safety guard. And do you know, I can't remember what I did with it. Oh, it's all the way down there now. Okay, one. I'm still missing another screw because it dropped. I'm sure it'll be perfectly fine just to stick one on there. On this episode of Don't Do What Nick Does, don't cable tie your safety shroud in place. Just don't do it. Now, I've heard a few sirens in the background, so I'm not going to take this bike out straight away. I think I might take the Giant out because it's the only halfway legitimate bike I own. And I'll do a few laps around and see if I can't suss it out. But for now, ow, the first real test is seeing if I can get round the backyard. Alright, I would call that a successful first ride. I'll take my chances and get out on the Mk4-Stroke.